Senate Project 517, of which I'm the author, deals with the decriminalization of small amounts of marijuana, namely 14 grams. So that if you're in possession of 14 grams, uh, it is handled like a traffic offense, uh, and in that way, it prevents the incarceration of folks that are found in possession of such small amounts.
Hmm.
And that's really what it attempts to do. It's been pending now. We have a two-house government system. The Senate, the House of Representatives, and the House of Representatives has had it now for 3 years,
Okay.
and they have yet to vote on it.
So so let me ask you, given given Puerto Rico's as looking for money, as they say, buscando chavo. How does marijuana policy, or how does your bill, could it offer a solution, at least some relief, or does it have any revenue
Well,
behind it, or what? I'd love to know more about what's going on in this area in Puerto Rico.
sure thing. It's not the purpose of the bill is not revenue driven. It is an interest in actually in liberty, freedom. I just think that it is to incarcerate a person for the possession of 14 grams of marijuana is just simply out of all proportion with the damage which that act does to society. This notion is known in the law as proportionality. It is a driving concern of all human interest programs, including every segment of the uh, drug policy programs that deal with the United Nations.
Mm-hmm.
It, it's now being recognized that when you incarcerate, as in Puerto Rico, a person with 14 grams of marijuana or less for 3 years, you're simply punishing that person out of all proportion to their acts. That is, if one is to describe possession of marijuana as a criminal act, the consequences principally are to the person. If the person smokes it or brownies or however you wish to consume it, that person is not in any way, by virtue of that action, affecting other citizens. And, for example, if you have custody of a child in Puerto Rico and you surrender custody of that kid by simply ignoring it or abandoning the responsibilities which custody carries, that's a 3-year offense.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're found with 14 grams of marijuana, that is the 3-year offense. If you mutilate a person in a fight, you cut a scar from ear to ear and take off his nose, that's a 3-year offense. And so the punishment is simply out of all proportion to the actions that possession of marijuana entail.
So
My
go ahead.
In
Go
terms
ahead.
of money, we're in need of money, as everybody knows, and the state of Colorado acknowledges that last year its licensees sold $956 million in the year 2015, and so one could easily see a future where the government does not license the sale, but keeps the exclusive right to sell and pockets, $1 billion a year.
So do you think that this? Well, what's the mood down there? I mean, has drug policy in Puerto Rico?
It's funny that you asked.
I mean, especially regarding marijuana, where
Yeah, it's funny that you asked because right now on the 20th of April, we're gonna have there is a movement down here called Free Juana, and they're going to have a march, which I will join, because, like I said, the interest in the bill and my own personal interest is liberty. I'm not a marijuana smoker. I've never smoked marijuana. I have no interest in smoking marijuana for the time being. And no, and I began this as a push towards more reasoned sentencing, kind of a more balanced approach to the crime and its consequences. And so I would think that every time we have to spend about $1,300 for every person that is arrested with possession of small amounts of marijuana. 2-3 weekends ago, there were 13 persons arrested in Puerto Rico for the possession of a joint or parts of a joint. And so one thinks, geez, we really need, to spend $13,000-$15,000 to do this, just as the cost of the initial process, the arrest and the presentment and the reading of the charges and the whole thing. So we need to rethink this, and that's what the project intends to do.
So, what in Puerto Rico? What are the opponents say about this? I mean, you said the bill's been I've read about it and it hasn't been passed or discussed. I mean,
no. It's just been in the Congress Rules and Calendar Committee without discussion. It's simply what it is. What the opponents are saying privately, because they don't want to actually show up on the voting record. They don't want to have the legislative record reflect their real position, because their vote would reflect it. So it's easier for a politician to say, "Oh well, I would have voted for that," but it never came down to the vote. My position is that the people have a right to know who's against this and who's for it, and do their own conclusions, get to their own conclusions. And so therefore, I will continue to push for the vote. Whether it's adverse or not, will be reflected in the process. But we need to figure out how politicians think and what they think about certain things, and that's my position regarding the need for vote.
So basically, your argument is to the point that by decriminalizing small possession of marijuana, that it's not as costly to incarcerate. There's a disproportionality of sentencing, and
right.
Obviously that leads to other things.
I don't know what leads to other things. Marijuana?
Oh no. I mean, I'm talking about you have a criminal record for 3 years, and that you're
you have a criminal record for the rest of your life.
Right.
You get caught with 2 joints, you lose your ability to borrow money to go to university. You get caught with 10 grams of marijuana, you lose your student aid. You lose your ability to get mortgage assistance whenever it is that you graduate from college, or your life moves on in other ways. The reality is that if you continue to insist on this punitive response to marijuana usage, and the world has now come to a different position. The war on drugs is simply a stupid strategy. It has not worked. It has never worked. And by the way, I was a U.S. attorney for a long period of time, so it isn't like I've not been exposed to this strategy. It's just that I finally, 15 years ago, concluded this is just the wrong thing to do, and I started talking against it.
So, my 2 more final questions, given Puerto Rico's sort of social culture, which, having grown up there,
yes.
And sort of its more conservative culture.
Yeah, it is.
Is that changing in terms of attitudes regarding drug policy? What's your
Well,
take on that?
I don't know. I think Puerto Ricans are segmented by geographical area and by religious fervor. You know, the more fervor there is in the family, the more opposed they are to notions of change. And geographically, that's principally you find that principally in the small mountain towns and some coastal towns that are about the same size. But the truth of the matter is, we have a ton of college students, and they have a family, and they're trying to persuade their families that it just they need to rethink this.
Right.
And so, my position is there is a certain inevitability that permeates changes in drug policy. The President of the United States, President Obama, has articulated for the country. They said, "Look, guys, we need to change the way we look at this because it's just incredibly costly and incredibly unfair," which is really, I think, a driving concern for him. I know it is for me.